What do you think? Yeah. Oh, thanks. Hi, Kelly Dack here, live from the Apex, IPC Apex show floor. We're glad to be back with you. We had a little technical glitch, as you know, live streaming does. It's amazing what the technology is allowing us to do. And I'm here with our cameraman Michael on the show floor, and we want to make sure and let you know that on the other stage, our keynote stage, we've got Dr. Eric Bogatin talking about how to keep your board from screaming like a banshee. I just love the title of that presentation. So make sure and check him out. And in the meantime, we're going to walk the show floor, and we've met up with quite an interesting process, quite an interesting materials. And I'd like to introduce you to Ken Martinez. I'll fist bump you, Ken.
How are you?
Very, very good to.
You mind if I take my mask off?
You may. I will keep mine on, and especially mine happens to be a Stentech mask.
I'm loving that. I am absolutely loving that.
I'll be the poster child for Stentech.
And it fits well, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It's very
fits
comfortable.
well.
May I keep it? Yes.
Yeah, absolutely, it's yours.
Okay. We're having a blast here, and I'm very happy to find this technology, stencil manufacturing technology, and again, as has happened along the show floor so much, as we walk after missing a year, the technology just seems to be jumping out at us as far as how small things are getting, how fine-pitched things are getting.
Absolutely.
Ken's going to tell us about Stentech and some of the capabilities for manufacturing stencils and what designers need to know about solder paste deposition. So Ken, take it away.
So listen, the first thing I would say is that at Stentech we offer the broadest array of stencil technological solutions. So from laser cut stencils to coated stencils, we happen to have the very best coated stencil on the market. Our advanced nano brand outperforms every other coating on the market. It will actually improve the transfer efficiency of your print deposits as much as 20% over the competitive products. So it's important that you have the full range of solutions. When you work with our CAD engineering and customer support team, you're going to find that they're going to evaluate your Gerber drawing, whatever kind of drawing that you prefer to work with. They're going to quickly evaluate what's required. They're going to assess that particular design. They're going to get to an area ratio, and they're going to recommend a solution that absolutely fits with what you're trying to do. And it matters. The most important thing is the communication you provide to our company, to our CAD engineer. If you're using a prototype, then we're going to provide a solution that's going to work in terms as a prototype. If you're wanting a high volume solution, that's critical to know, and we're going to get you a different solution. So the key is the partnership we have with our customers is absolutely critical, the communication. And as you can imagine, as you're going through engineering design cycles, we want to be part of the continuous improvement process. So we as a customer, we're different as you work with us, because our CAD engineering folks will work with you and focus in the areas that you need to improve. There's nothing more important if you're a process engineer or a manufacturing engineer than to improve throughput, efficiency, yield, and that's what we want to be able to partner with our customers on to help improve their overall performance. We deeply respect the customers we work with, mostly process engineers, manufacturing engineers. The number one issue that they deal with is improving yield and throughput. And the very front end of that process is the stencil, and it's important that it's designed effectively for what that engineer needs to accomplish. So that's the difference in terms of working with STENTEC. Our number one focus is the partnership with you to optimize your results. If you do well, we do well. And that's really the key to it.
Yeah, Ken, thanks. Well said. Well said. And our mostly designer audience out there, let's talk about what a designer needs to know, because, surprisingly, designers, I feel like we get into halfway designing the paste mask areas. It's very common for us designers to create a 1-to-1 ratio between all of our SMT lands and send that to our stencil manufacturer. But then sometimes we do modify them. We may shrink them. We may hold up our thumbs and go, well, I think we should shrink this but what we're doing here is talking to a bona fide stakeholder, a stakeholder in the process, and this is what we're trying to introduce our viewers to, is our stakeholders. So tell us about, designers don't have to know everything about solder deposition. That becomes maybe more of another stakeholder, the EMS supplier, the manufacturer of the assemblies. It's an assembly operation, and depending on the parts and the leads or contacts of the part, the job is, we're in the business of creating solder joints.
Absolutely.
STENTEC is here to help the EMS manufacturer mold these designs, the Gerber files, through your CAM departments, the CAM departments out there, to deposit the appropriate amount of solder. So let's talk about that. Let's look at some of the stencils. Let's go on a field trip.
Yeah, let's go. So let's start.
I'm going to start over here.
Yep, so let's start. I want to just talk to you about some of the technology improvements. First and foremost, the laser technology we use to produce laser cut stencils has improved dramatically. But most recently, the most significant development in the industry is our coating. This is what we call the nano slick coating. This is not just a wipe-on kind of coating that you often see out there. We have a proprietary process that actually applies the coating to the stencil and actually gets into those laser cut apertures, smooths those apertures, and improves the release. So, and as I mentioned, it can be as much as a 20% improvement in release. And as you're aware, it's at the front end of the process, so that design needs to be perfected. Our team will actually advise on that, right?
We have looked, we have been across the show floor, and we've seen some of the automated optical inspection equipment. That's an inspection point. After the paste is applied, it's all about the release. And let me tell you, I am very familiar with the benefits of the release. I always check the box to put on your nano coatings, yes, because I know it's going to help. Some folks Absolutely. Think they'll go on the cheap, and they have their AOI picks up.
Absolutely.
Hey, this is a weird structure. How can we fix it? Nano coatings. So the release, and you'll if you look at some of the optical inspection views, you'll see a nice block of
Absolutely.
neatly stacked solder balls, and it's due to some of these coatings. So thanks for
Absolutely.
mentioning that.
Yeah, the geometry of the fillets after you release that stencil is absolutely critical. And you're right. We have the technology to see that, right? And what I would encourage people to do is stretch a little bit, spend the $100, $150 to get the coating. It gives you the engineering margin to ensure that you're going to get better produced bricks or fillets. That geometry will be better. It's a combination of a lot of variables. You got to have the right solder. You have to have the right print parameters. But if it all comes together and we're all working together, you're definitely going to get a better, more reliable product, a more consistent production process, but most importantly, you're going to get the proper yield and throughput. At the end of the day, that's what the executive team at your company cares about. Are you lowering costs, improving margin, and meeting customer requirements by hitting schedules? So,
Let me ask a question. We're starting to talk about release. We're talking about the walls of the laser etched or chem etched materials.
Yes.
We're talking about nano coating, and at the point of geometry, some of our boards are very normal, 1206 chip capacitors, 0603s, but then we're getting down to 0805s. As we go down the scale, we're getting into some quite small packages, and I am looking here, and I was very impressed with some of the micro detail now that we can get with into some of the metals. Tell us about that.
So this is an example of the capabilities of our electroform technologies. You can see the fine features that are created, some of the solutions we can offer using electroform. This is the area that we're gonna make a significant investment in our company to take the electroform technology to the next level. It does some things well now. It needs to do some things a little better. But I can tell you, customers around the world love the performance of this technology. But we can cover the full range. So oftentimes with the simpler components, a PhD stainless steel stencil, perfect.
Let me pause you there. We've got a lot of emerging engineers, and I will always pause our interviewees when we shout out acronyms, because
That's right.
we are very familiar. We've been in the
Yes.
business for quite a while, and we use a lot of acronyms. Explain PD.
PhD. Well, that's typically the what we call the standard foil that's used across the industry. It's a very unique foil with a very tight grain size. When the grain size of the foil is small, you have a smoother aperture when you laser cut it. So that's the first starting point. There's different kinds of foil quality, and then there's the tension on the foil itself. So
Typically, we're talking stainless steel, mostly.
Stainless steel product, absolutely. So you want to get the highest quality stainless steel that you can as a starting point, and then how that foil is stretched matters as well.
All right, so if our viewers haven't seen a stencil and a frame, I don't know if we have a picture of that, but we did see. Oh, here we go. Some of the frames, and these are. I've seen large frames with tubular 2-inch metal. Okay. Oh my goodness. Here's exactly what I'm familiar with, except this happens to be like 5 feet long.
This is for an LED solution.
Come on over. Come on over.
This would be for an LED
Step in
solution.
here and this is a.
So one, you can typically, your standard frame is 29 by 29. Tubular, we offer any range of frames that you would require for your printing solution. Typically, the most cost effective is a standard 29 by 29 aluminum frame. We can either put your stencil in a frame. We can do it frameless. We call those either frameless or dropout. You can also, we can reduce your cost by allowing you to take our printed stencil and put it into a frame that will replicate that. We can ship it in a packet. It's off to you. You put it into the reusable frame. We have several solutions around that, so that's another area to take a look at. They come in the 2-inch. Some are thinner. We have what we call a space saver frame. Everybody has lots of these stencils around, and they need to store them. They need to be able to find them, put them into use. the thinner space saver frame is a real advantage.
I
So
worked at companies with racks
You've seen
and
it,
racks
haven't
of, yes. And what's really interesting, what's striking me here right now is the length of the stencil, which means there is a very long, large board, probably an FR4 related board out there, and we know that with materials like FR4 or any materials, they are subject to stretch. And I'd like you to talk about, because I've asked your company and asked
Have
your
you?
cam operators
Okay.
about stretch compensation, because we send you one-to-one artwork. As a designer, we send out a SMT paste mask layer artwork. That's the raw data that comes into a cam department.
Absolutely.
The cam operators will take that and take the material, or actually the fabrication vendors can measure how much the material stretches, and they can either output a stretch compensated file to send to Stentec. Do you can you do the stretch compensation on site too?
we certainly can too. Yeah, we typically call that feature of the stencil the run out. But basically, that it's measuring that stretch, right? So we try to accommodate for that. It's something we work very closely with our customers on. So that is a critical element to the process. And as you use that stencil over time, it's going to change a little bit. So it's critical that as you're using the product that you're accommodating some of that use and some of that minor change with your printing process.
Excellent,
Right. So there's
excellent.
a partnership.
Yeah, I'm glad we got to bring that up, because it's a capability. It's a supplier capability.
Absolutely.
And it needs to be considered, because there are many times that a designer will take on try and take on all the roles of the stakeholder and say, make it per this artwork.
There you go.
And that can cause problems down the road for your EMS provider, wherever it's being built. You need to allow them perhaps to have that nominal Gerber data output and send it to their supplier, who can stretch compensate for the process.
So one more thing we can add there. I mean, that partnership, they need to think of us as an additional resource on their team in the design as they deliver this to production. And so we're when we take a look at their file, we're capturing in their profile for that unique customer all their specific edits. And again, it's about making it easy for that engineer, that process engineer, that manufacturing engineer, by having the profile. We keep that. We need to keep their life easy, so we capture it, we apply it. They're going to let us know if there's a requirement that's different from that. But the other thing is, when we give them the check plot file that they would approve in our partnership, they also get a paste deposition file that gives them a feel for how that stencil is going to perform. Not everybody does that. At Stentec, we do.
Right on. Again, we can. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we may emphasize that as a designer, we can spend a lot of time creating stencil detail or paste mask deposition detail. If you can zoom up, Michael, here, and we see what is called window painting for a large surface mount pad, so that we don't get too much solder. But companies who do the solder or do this paste mask stencil, as Ken said, as Ken said, they will do that for us. They do the
Absolutely,
compensations.
yeah. Absolutely.
So it's a service.
That's
you are
right.
the guys. You are the stakeholders.
Absolutely.
You're best qualified to do it.
Yeah, we're a partner in it. We have their back. We need them to have our back. We're moving quickly. Listen, at Stentec, and like most of our competitors, the earlier we get a design in the morning, the better the planning between us and the supplier, the more quickly we can get it out. We will take a requirement. It could be as late as 2 in the afternoon. And our team is committed to taking that design, turning it around, getting it in production, and getting it shipped out that next day.
What time frame are you in? Are you still central?
Well, we're across the U.S. We've got 4 operations in Canada. We've got 9 in the U.S. We've got 5 down in Mexico. So we have extremely good coverage of the U.S. And one of the strategic advantages you're always going to have when you have a stencil supplier is being close, right? Freight is expensive. It's crazier than ever. So being close, if you can establish a relationship with a supplier who's close, you may be able to just stop by that supplier to get that stencil. And we understand the pressure they're under with their customer to get those things turned around. So proximity is important. We have a lot of locations. We're not a giant company, but we understand that part of delivery. We keep it simple: quality, delivery, and service.
Right on.
It really is that simple.
Anything to wrap this up? Anything to summarize? Anything we left off, maybe?
Just to mention the other thing that we do, and I'll just show you real quickly. At our company, we also can provide tooling and fixturing to go along with our stencil designs that will add to the reliability, the consistency of your production process. When you work with our guys, once again, they'll work with you literally on the phone. Take a look, and we're only limited by whatever they're able to communicate. They will take your requirements literally on the phone via a Zoom meeting or whatever, put a 3D design up in front of you so that we can ensure that first article, the very first unit, is visually going to meet your expectations. It oftentimes creates questions and collaboration that might have been missed with just the file.
Checking and handshaking is a really good thing in our industry, and we make the point often to the design community. They have design checks set up in the software, but you can't check enough, and we need to follow the manufacturing industry, which does a great example, or shows a great example of checking the process every step of the way, because you don't want to create scrap.
And the standard rule is that most people are more effective visually than they are with all the other tools. When they can visually see something, immediately it kicks into their brain, they can see, and that just increases the collaboration. So being able to work right there, them communicating to us, them seeing and adjusting the design as we go, asking questions, you can't imagine how many problems that eliminates on that first article delivery.
Right on. Well, go ahead.
I'm just going to say, and we're going to get that done in maybe as much as 2 to 3 to 4 days upon completing and seeing that visual review. So it's quick turn as well. Everything we do is we try to do quick turn because we know the time pressures people are under. So
amazing. Well, thank you very much for spending time with us. This is
Absolutely.
very exciting.
Good to meet you, Kelly.
We walked the show floor, and we I don't know. There's so much to see. We happened to hear, and I go, "Ooh, I know StenTech," and let's talk to Ken.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
I'm glad
you very much
by.
for the opportunity.
It's very good to meet
I'll
you.
fist bump you.
Yeah.
And with me has been Ken Martinez for StenTech Corporation. Check them out. Website.
Please do.
Get some of their guidelines and learn more about the stencil manufacturing process and the stakeholders that are so critical to making it all happen.
Yeah, we want to partner with you.
We're live on the show here. We're gonna walk.
All right, guys.
I'm being told we're going to walk.
All right.
Thanks, Ken.
Good to see you.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So, how exciting! I am always amazed, like I mentioned, about how the scale of things is shrinking to the point of to be able to accommodate our new technologies. So for now, I think we're going to take a little break, but we want to remind you that over on the one of the main stages, we've got our keynote speaker, Dr. Eric Bogatin, speaking about signal integrity, and the title of his presentation just catches my ear. It's called "How to Keep Your Board from Screaming Like." So please tune in, make sure and tune in, and take a look at him and his presentation. Thank you very much. Kelly Dack live on the show floor. We'll be back at you very soon.
Well, gotta act fast. Sign up for the broadcast of the AltiumLive 3-day show. Okay. There'll be keynote speakers, events for tech seekers. I'm your host and I'm ready to go. This event will be hip. We're in partnership with the folks from the IPC. Stakeholders unite and feel alright. Digging multi-show synergy. So let's all connect. Come on, people, let's reflect on the meaning of digital transcendence. Catch it how design and manufacturing combine. Check us out. Virtual attendance. Yeah.
Nibbling on sponge cake. It's really hard to think after a day on the show floor. Okay, let's try this. Andy's gonna try and sing this. Here we go.
Nibbling on sponge cake, watching the sun bake. All these tourists are covered in oil. Coming my sixth string.
Hey, you are.
On my front porch swing.
No, you're not.
Well, the trip they were ready to boil. Wasted wicked in Margaritaville. But for my sicker salt, where's the salt? Where's the salt? Where's the salt? Some people say there's a woman to blame, and I know in my own damn fault. Don't know the reason. Stayed here all season. Nothing to show but this brand new tattoo. It's a real beauty, Mexican cutie. How they got here, I haven't a clue. No clue, y'all. Wasted wicked in Margaritaville. Let's pour my life shaker of salt. Where's the salt? Where's the salt? Some people claim there's a woman to blame, but I know it's nobody's fault. I'll play a little guitar. Now goes to Judy. And stop. Something like that. Stepped on an uptown.
Put on my flip-flop.
Put on flip-flop. Bring my heel as it cruise on back home. Put this booze in the blender.